Hi everyone joining on Facebook Live and YouTube. Zip this a little bit ahead because I'm going to wait to greet some people coming on that I just love. We have a great relationship. We go back and forth with ideas. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about Mary Magdalene being the true apostle. Why is it important that we know this stuff? Let's redefine apostle to include a spiritual application of energy. Let's talk about what the alchemical feminine is as opposed to the archetype of femininity, which is blatantly throughout the whole church. Let's be one in spirit, in our divine masculine, in our divine feminine, and let us rise in energy to work in unity. So I'm going to wait a while for people to get on. I hope you're having a good day, and I hope you can hear this. I'm on the central coast of California, and I'm telling you, this time of the year, it's so clear. Hi, Saloma. And it's so bright and so brilliant that the water, it's not like the East Coast where the water is a little bit shallow and you got to walk out a little way. Now, we have the rocks and everything in Northern California, so it's absolutely beautiful. The sea otters are out there. The whales are out there. Hi, Mary. So let me dedicate this message to, yes, the men, because this isn't a message about any antagonism toward the patriarchy, just to realize it exists. So this is dedicated to Saloma and Rita and Mary and Pris and my good friends Kat, Lisa, and Kathleen, and to Tender Ann and all the people that watch. Because I believe this is really going to change your heart and change your life. And I am in a really, hola, Pris. The man that I love makes the most excellent salsa in the world. And you know what? I want to go back to Vallarta for a month and I just want to write. So anyway, hello, Christine. Welcome. Let's get started. First of all, I want you to receive this in your heart because the reason I'm so excited, this blew me away. I think I knew this, but I didn't know how to put a solid application or a foundation into the truths I experienced. Most of the stuff that I'm getting comes from my own intuition, but also I'm a reader, I'm a studier. This is backwards, didn't turn it. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene by Jean-Yves Leloup. I agree with most of what he said, but I believe the ultimate interpretation is by this wonderful theologian called Cynthia Bourgeault. And she wrote the meaning of Mary Magdalene. And they're excellent. And this was led to me to talk about intuitively because all the signs led to this point. I'll probably stay on it one more week, and then I'm going to take a week break or so as Easter comes, and then I'm going to see where I'm going to go next. I'm still thinking about it. So let's talk. Those are the books. The emergence of Mary Magdalene is a renewed awareness of her importance as an essential remembering of the feminine. That's what Jean-Yves Leloup says. Now, it isn't by accident. I had no desire to teach this. I didn't want to, but yet this was put so strongly in my heart and has impacted my heart greatly. So we're not talking, what I learned in this, and I'm just going to go slow and take as long as I need. We're not talking about the archetypal feminine, but we're talking about something called the alchemical feminine, which Cynthia Bourgeault talks about the difference with uncanny brilliance and wonder. Because you see, there is a big difference, and religion has appropriated the archetypal feminine that lodges in the subconscious. And it is a symbol or an image or a thought that I have experienced in 20 years of ministry that is embedded in the human consciousness for women to be good girls, submit in all ways, where a glass ceiling is put over you, go this far and no further. In my opinion, I would say this is prevalent in grace communities, in Western evangelical communities, and Baptists. It is either outright in the Catholic Church, it is either blatantly stated as truth or subtly applied that you feel it and you know it, because you are not encouraged to be courageous. You are not encouraged to be a leader. You are taken into the fold just for the simple fact of saying, I've got a woman on staff. This is what happens most of the time. But thank God I'm not in that situation, nor do I hope to go back. So the alchemical feminine within me is revolutionary truth. It is courageous embodiment of the divine feminine that is not based upon an archetype of what the feminine should be. That was the difference. And the reason Mary Magdalene was called the apostle of the apostles, and we'll redefine that term, is because she entered a realm of a wisdom realm, a mystical realm, something that was not accepted in the canonical Gospels. It was not accepted by Constantine when he purged most of the esoteric Gospels out of the way and established laws and basically a patriarchy. It was no way accepted by the Catholic Church, who only wanted celibate men in order to be the connection between you and God. Or it's not accepted in these so-called apostolic networks, of which I was a part of for so many years, who basically stand as a hierarchy, mostly a male-dominated situation, where what they do is then they profess to tell you that they're free, but yes, they are also hierarchical, and they are the middleman between God and you, which is no different than what the Pope does. So I have to be careful that as I say this, I'm not anger in any way. Because when I first started learning this, I thought, how did I fall for this bullshit all those years? And there are many still falling for the bullshit in so many ways. So my job is to show you and help you move into your divine humanity, to realize that you are here for a purpose and you are not in competition with anybody, that the true source of leadership that is coming in any way, shape, or form will be a union between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So Mary Magdalene was not a prostitute. That is a blatant lie. You can research that yourself. She was the apostle of apostles, and there was a reason, but it is not the interpretation that the church has of an apostle right now. I forego all the spiritual biblical interpretations and I just look at what the word means. She also focused on the inner worlds of initiation into intuition and wisdom. So let's start with Mary. Mary was in the life of Jesus when he was alive, as he was dying, as he died, in the resurrection and in the ascension. Yet she is nowhere mentioned anywhere in the book of Acts, nor is she given any credibility for being the one who followed along with the Baal guys, nor was she given the credibility that she actually loved Jesus and they had an intimate relationship. God, don't let me shock you there. You'd be surprised what some scholars say. So she represents a human being who is open and available to true inner knowing, who can see in deeper, clearer ways through unique spiritual connection to both the earthly death and the divine ascension. Now, within women, within the divine feminine in women or men, there is this sense of gut intuition and wisdom. We see what can't be seen. We know what can't be known. How many of you mothers out there just knew when your kids were getting into trouble? You knew it even they were nowhere near you. You knew it. You had a knowing because of the connection of that child and you. And that is the connection that is essential to an inner knowing. And that is what is needed in every sector of society. It's needed in government. It's needed in culture. It's needed in religion. Amidst all the anger and the tribalism and the division, there is needed unity warriors who will not be afraid to speak, no matter what the consequences, but will speak with wisdom and love. So through this path that she had, she integrated, in the midst of observation, the wholeness of her own life to ascend, to be open to meeting Jesus in the imaginal realm. You see, we're doing a lot of informational processing, or we did it in the church, wherever. And the informational processing never reaches the heart in experience. So we fragment our observations without rising up and looking at the whole picture. We do with the chaos that's going on in the world. Nobody really knows what's going to happen in this chaotic, crazy year, and they're doing it intentionally. They're doing it to promote so much uprising that you can't pinpoint where it's all coming from, but you can with your intuition, and you can rise up to neither be bound by fear and to ascend into a higher place. So it was Mary, through her observation, that she really was able to appropriate all the elements of Jesus as a counterpart to her in total equality, so that she met him in the imaginal realm and she had a message to give. Unfortunately, it was ignored and decimated until it was brought out in the 1940s and is prevalent for us today. So when Jesus finally saw her in the garden, it's very, very important that you realize that when Jesus said her name, when he looked at her and she was able to recognize him in all his fullness before the ascension, and he said, Mary, that was an indication to her fullness of being. It was like it culminated in that moment. Have you ever, like I got goosebumps now, have you ever heard something where you know that that's something that you heard or that's something that you saw suddenly integrated everything you've been walking through to where you get the goosebumps, to where it almost enlarges in your foundation, and you know that you know nobody needs to challenge you, nobody needs to disagree with you. You just know this is what happened to Mary. It was the restoration to fullness, knowing that all she'd been through was to bring her to that point in time. And what happened was she was initiated, according to the Gospel of Philip, into the state of singleness. The Gospel of Phyllis, maybe, was another Gnostic gospel. So the Gospel of Philip said that at that moment, she was initiated into a state of singleness. She had an awakened consciousness at that point that, listen, at that point, she was able to match him at his own destiny. There is no difference between Mary and Jesus. They each played a part in their incarnation, and I will get to that in a little bit. So there is no difference. She matched him at his destiny with another purpose in her incarnation. That is so powerful to me because she's basically been chastised in every way possible, ignored, eliminated, and it's almost like you've got to know that there's something behind it. Well, what is that? The church's control, every religion control on every level. So the object of her desire was not at a distance anymore. See, sometimes we observe and we keep things at a distance. We keep truth at a distance. We keep the reality of what religion teaches us because we're afraid to draw nearer. Because draw nearer means we leave the box of religion and we enter into the observation that suddenly is right before us, calling us to enter in. And that became then the subject of her truth. The subject of your truth, that which you flow in, the essence of your being, will never flow through head knowledge. That leaves a person sitting in a pew in the midst of hierarchy, taking notes, but never appropriating the experience. The object of your truth comes when the distance that it has been draws closer, as Jesus did to Mary in the imaginal realm, and suddenly she enters a realm of gnosis, which is inner knowing. And I think when we get to that point, in whatever way individually we get to that point, it's not something that we're just going to talk about, social media, right? It becomes so deep and so profound that what happens is the essence of your being begins to flow in creativity. And then people start to look at you, they start to listen to you, and they go, well, what is that? And don't seek to define it. Just seek to flow in your creative expression, which Mary did. But again, she was chastised and ignored, eliminated from the book of Acts. Peter listened to her and then just basically said, you're a fool, get away. Why would we believe this? Okay, so she then died to human love and awakened to a new reality. Do you know that when she walked with Jesus, Peter in the Gnostic Gospel says that Jesus often kissed her? We'll get to that topic in a bit. There was an intimate union between the two of them, and don't go further than just what I'm saying. She moved, awakened to a new reality that she knew that she was one with him. Sounds a lot like marriage. Sounds a lot like the unity that is supposed to be present in a truly beautiful marriage, where you both come together as one, but you never relinquish the beauty and the creative expression of who you are. Why did the church say submit? Because it wanted you to relinquish every part of your essential essence to who you are. That's ridiculous, folks. So when she died to human love and she awakened to a new reality, She was intimate companions with Jesus. Many scholars say this. She was a teacher as well as a student. She was a fellow initiate and a soulmate. The essence of her apostolic vocation to live and minister out of that realm, out of the imaginal realm, out of that place where she was brought up to see Jesus in a vision, which was actually what's called an ontological reality. It's real. So the essence of her being in the imaginal realm allowed life to flow out from her that fully came into being when the physically and fleshed phase of her journey began. It catapulted her into a kingdom in its essence of singleness. We hear a lot about the kingdom, a lot. And most of it's just BS. It's still based on a hierarchical system. It's still based upon duality and building in the 3D realm, getting people saved or whatever BS people believe in. I'm going to be passionate about this subject because I'm just fed up and I'm just going to be me in all shapes and forms. This is also dedicated to Tanya. I mentioned all the people at the beginning. So what I want to talk about then is that apostolic vocation. It's like yada, 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 yada. We're talk, but it's based in a linear reality, which is duality. Now, I'm a science major. What is duality? Let's review it again. Duality is when you think you are separate from everything, yet you are not. Because quantum physics shows us we are divinely entangled. I can no more separate from you than you can separate from me. There is no separation. We've talked about this for a long time. So when she entered into that reality, she knew that this was not just talk. The essence of her manifestation came from the creative engagement with Jesus in the imaginal realm. So duality is something that is everywhere in every major religion. It's so obvious. I do not understand why people still sit in that environment. I have stories I'll begin to tell you in a little bit. There's a hierarchy of submission. The apostolic is based upon higher levels of authority. That is duality. That is hierarchical. That is not unity. True leaders lead from behind, and they're unique leaders who flow from behind and watch the flow of every person in order to get them going in the way that they're supposed to go. They don't preach every week and have people sit before them. There's an empowerment. There's an engagement from an intuitive reality, not from what you're learning from a Bible which contains many, many, many lies if you do your research. So also the apostolic is based upon having seen Jesus, then you're established in a physical church to advance the kingdom in physical manifestations of control. This is a lie. Let me tell you something about apostolic networks. Babe, honey, I was involved in all kinds of stuff, as I know some of you are. I was involved in apostolic networks, went to all the conferences, and very rarely were there any women in any positions of speaking into my life. Also, there was no essence of the divine feminine. Yes, they flowed in prophecy, but they never flowed in the application of using women to stand alongside them to flow in that realm. There were a few, but they gained credence by a physical representation of the advance of their ministry or how many people they reached. All the while, people sitting in the audience, believing the lie and demoting their creative expression. They built large networks. They built huge buildings. It cost you money to join the network. It was so ridiculous that right now I can't even believe. And many of those networks right now, which we'll get to in a little while, are falling due to sexual sin. We will really get to that in a minute, because if you're going to keep saying one thing and you're going to, I'll wait a minute. I'm just being me. So now let's turn to the Gospel of Philip, what he says about Mary. Mary is a special companion to Jesus. Is it possible that there was a sexual intimacy? Yes, it's very possible. Wow, let's see. How many people are going to leave me now, or how many people are going to comment? Of course, do you know people actually believe that full redemption cannot exclude sexuality? They actually believe that if you don't engage in your sexuality, how can you say you've redeemed in your full humanity? Jesus loses credence to some people because he didn't engage in the sexual part of his identity. Now, scholars say yes, scholars say no. I'll leave that up to you. So an ancient proverb says that which is not lived is not redeemed. So here's what Christian logic says. And this is why there's so many sexual sins being exposed in these networks and being exposed even in the Catholic Church. You want me to sit in a place that's dominated by men that are celibate, yet abusing people possibly on their right and their left and never giving women an equal voice. I mean, that is the epitome of ignorance. So here's what Christian logic in an old saying says. Jesus did not live his life sexually. Therefore, sexuality is unredeemed. Therefore, sexuality is a bad thing. Therefore, living your sexuality can be degraded and make you guilty. That is ridiculous. Sexuality is part of who we are. Sexuality is who we express ourselves in the intimacy of relationships. There's no guilt about that. None at all. Yet it's so downgraded by the church in every way. I mean, you know what, guys? I was told not to wear black. Excuse me. I was told don't wear black because that signals something demonic. And don't wear earrings, don't wear red lipstick, don't mingle with gay people in San Francisco in your fashion design classes, because then who knows what's going to influence you. Now, I am passionate today, so those of you who think I'm emotional, just leave. You have not experienced, if you're not a woman, you have not experienced what many of us have experienced in the church. So allow us to get over it, and then allow us to unite with you in unity. We are all apostles. We all have that message. There is no distinction or no fragmentation in the field. So what does apostle mean? If you look, all it gives is religious connotation. So I had to Google what is apostle in the term. What does it mean? Well, it means sent on a mission. Well, I'm an apostle then, as are you. Why have I incarnated if I don't have a mission on this planet? I am breaking new ground. I am supporting a new idea. And my new idea is leave that behind. As we transition into a new realm of reality, there are new ideas that will open up to you, in you, and through you. So you are an apostle. I am an apostle. It is not a network. It is not a configuration in a 3D realm. And the reason Mary was an apostle was because of her observation of following Jesus through this whole realm until the very essence of his death. She was the first one to see him, and that was some of the requirements. So why is it that they left out Mary in these writings, but they include Paul, who what the F? He didn't see Jesus. Oh, he saw him. Well, the qualifications to be an apostle were that you had to see Jesus. You had to be with him. Well, Paul wasn't. He saw him in a vision like Mary did, but somehow Mary was ejected from the equation. You guys need to really tell us you're sorry. So when you have an experience with the apostolic networks, it'll, I don't know, were you in a Baptist church? I wasn't. I was in Charismania for so many years. So many years. So in the imaginal realm, her apostolic commissioning, so to speak, came because she engaged with a generative energy that could change the world and the events in the world. That's why they silenced her. She engaged in the imaginal realm, something the guys did not do, and she was given a wisdom and a love interpretation to be who she was called to be, to change events in the world. Well, maybe she didn't change events back then, but she's surely changing events now with a renewed interest in who she was. So she was tethered between two realms, mediating the invisible to the visible, a wisdom function, not a religious reality which stresses advanced building, conquering in essence the belief in people's lives to know that they have to produce, and has its being in the reality of duality, not essence. Mary had her belief in essence. Now, you're seeing the real me. I'm a Gemini. I can shift real fast. Just ask my friends. Follow along. Don't tell me I'm too much. I know you don't, but I've heard that my whole life. Take what you can. Just let me be me. I'm going to let you be you. I'm going to go into all different directions because I can't go into depth because it would take me 6 months to go into depths about all that. So now let's go a little deeper. The answer to all this is not just placing women in leadership positions to secure a quota. Grace communities do that. Evangelical communities do that. Baptist communities do that. But they tell you how far you can go, women or children, or they pretend that they receive you, but they're so nuanced because most of those people have come from a Baptist background and they never did believe in the equality of women. So you can stamp grace on it, but it's really not grace. Do you hear me? So the answer, you just don't put women in position or a man in a position with not acknowledging the intuition aspect and then the mind-heart coherence, the ability to access the intuition into manifestation. So let's talk about something Cynthia Bourgeault says that was incredible. Let's talk about the archetype feminine and the alchemical feminine. And this is going to tie together the importance of Mary as opposed to what we're seeing in the world today. It's going to tie in the importance of being divinely human and being the union of divine masculine and divine feminine. So what I'm about to say is also for men, not just for women. So what is an archetype? Why is it that Cynthia Bourgeault says that the church has come under the realm of the archetypal feminine? Well, the archetype is an original pattern or model of which all things of the same type are representations or copies. So a patriarchal consciousness is based in a reality of an archetype, of what they believe the feminine is. They've not risen in awareness. They were locked down through all of history, through all of ancient tradition, to say that women are less than, they'll give you 99%, but they're going to control that last 1%. So this feminine archetype is present everywhere. So the desire of the patriarchy to secure both men and women from moving in their divine feminine or in their awareness is to go this far and no further. And that comes on various levels. The feminine archetype is seen as intuitive, sensitive, receptive, non-hierarchical, without any acknowledgement that there is a strength and a courage to be appropriated within the divine feminine. So what that's saying is they will acknowledge you're all that. How many times I was given the mic, yeah, you can prophesy, but then just sit down. Just sit down. Yeah, you can prophesy, but just sit down. They give you freedom, but there's always a glass ceiling because they're abiding by the feminine archetype. So it's hard for some women to say, yeah, I'm free, but you're really not, because you've not been given total freedom to be who you are. Because even though they believe in the feminine archetype, it is lodged in their subconscious that a woman in no way is equal to a man. That's just the way it is. They're in no way equal to a man. They will not admit it because they want to be politically correct or, yeah, Tanya, or socially correct. But they won't let you just go with it and forge a new direction. So the desire of feminism, now let me say this. I'm calming down. Really, I'm not, but that's okay because I'm going. Feminism hasn't stopped this. Or it hasn't stopped this, because you can put as many females in positions of leadership and they could be operating under the divine masculine so much that they have no intuition in them. Look at the neocons in Washington. War, 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 death, 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 all embodied in a physical body. So it doesn't matter how many women you put in corporations or in places, if they don't allow the integration of the masculine and the feminine to grow, you're not going to go anywhere. But we can start something new, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So the female leaders, if they're not put in the position to integrate into their divine masculine and their divine feminine, as well as the men, they're acting out of their innate divine masculine in every way. And it's not changing things. They march and they can say, we want equality. Equality is not getting a job. Equality is not more benefits. Equality is not what we're seeing. Equality in both the male and the female is uniting as one to create a new world. Who's going to do that? I am, because I'm not going to go back into any other realm that's going to limit me or submit me. I want no part of it. So modeling anything according to an archetype based upon a subconscious reality that is a controlling narrative. The church religion is modeled on an archetype based upon a subconscious reality that is a controlling narrative in all ways. There is no need also to create a divine father or a divine mother. So now the New Agers, we have the divine father and then we have the goddess Sophia. Why do you need that? There's nothing to counterbalance in true unity. I don't need to prove to you this. You don't need to prove to me that. It's just another realm of disunity. Goddesses never create equality. Never create equality. So this just seems another way of subtle fragmentation into another belief that is still a religious belief that is going to say, women, take your place. Honey, no, you're never going to take your place by proving it. And men, you're never going to take your place by bowing to feminist bullshit that bows to that anger. It's time to rise, people. It's time to rise to be the wholeness of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. So it's subtle. So please stop portraying God as he, as she. God is the divine mind, and the essence of the divine mind has seen fit to birth me into this form. And in this form, I have the wholeness of the essence, not to be antagonistic to my desire to lead as well as my heart to manifest. But it is to look for some place, any place, that will be a community, to establish a community, to truly tap into a person, to see what is their purpose, and to help them grow in that. So now let's talk about, now listen to this. I hope you're still with me. If Jesus shows us, Bourgeot says this, if Jesus shows us what the completed human being looks like in its male form, Mary models it in a female version. Together, they become the Christus Sophia, the anthropos, the androgynous archetype of human wholeness. They are equal. Have you heard that lately in any church? And I don't mean to be strong against the church, but I mean to be strong against the church because the realization of all the bullshit that I fell under is finally coming alive in me, but it's causing me to be fiery and to challenge it, not to be mad at all, but I'm not going to accept the lies. So now, what does it mean when Mary is an alchemical feminine and not a female archetype? Okay, so this is what it means. Alchemy is a magical process of inner transformation and creation. You can read Paul Coelho's book, The Alchemist. You can look this up. I'm not going to go into great detail. Do the research yourself. But it is a magical transformation and creation. This is what happened to Mary in the imaginal realm. The guys rejected her and ignored her and displaced the essence of her being, and they went on to doing. They exemplified only the divine masculine. Some of them changed, some of them didn't, but she was ignored totally. So Jesus was the alchemical transformation of Eros in the passage through death, producing a particularly intense power sphere of imaginal reality, which we can still tap into. So Mary came back in, Jesus went up, but they were united in the imaginal realm to give a Christos Sophia attitude of what we're supposed to be walking in and what we're creating. It seems so obvious that I just can't believe it. So Jesus was the divine Eros, and he rose up into a sphere of imaginal reality, and that's why he said to Mary, don't touch me here. You're not ready to see the fullness of what I'm about to embody. The guys didn't see it. And for what some of you who may be watching this at a later date, I was in ministry for 20 years, people. I preached all over the world. I preached all the bullshit. And now I'm free. And I'm going to help you understand. And if you're not going to get free, then go and listen to someone else. So here's the deal. We are still open to engaging in the imaginal realm, which will help us to manifest creativity on this earth. Religion really doesn't want that. Creativity is expressive. As I've said before, Tolkien it went into the imaginal realm. Jung went into the imaginal realm. C.S. Lewis went into the imaginal realm. And their production of their creativity was books. What's yours? When have you come face to face in the imaginal realm with the reality to bring forth the creation? Or are we still sitting on our ass, always wanting someone else to do it, which has got us into the creation of what we're currently experiencing? The lackadaisical attitude of Americans. I've lived in many places throughout the world. We have become so content with our freedom that we're buying all the bullshit that's dehumanizing us in every way, shape, or form, rather than moving up in our creativity by engaging in a spiritual realm with a spiritual master, not a salvationist. Not the only way, not the one way, but a spiritual master in Jesus who had so much to give us. And until we cross that line into leaving behind the religious narrative, we will never hear correctly what he was actually saying. So what about the resurrection? What does the church say? The church is waiting for I wish I had a glass of wine right now, guys. I'd calm down. The church is waiting for a resurrected body to appear in the clouds and somehow save all of humanity. Got nothing to say about that. That is so ridiculous. It's funny. They're waiting for this magical person. So they've nailed resurrection down to they're going to live this life in duality, looking outside themselves, never experiencing their divinity, always looking up and for someone to save them that's going to come back in the resuscitated body to say, I've arrived. Come with me now. You will too. Well, right now, folks, you are divinely human. So Bugeaud says that the resurrection did not happen for Jesus only once, but he is a living reality and the meeting ground of all who have traveled to the end point with the beloved and discovered there that the depth of their affection has become the subject of their truth. Have you gone so far in your relationship that there was nowhere else to go, no religious doctrine that will minister to you, no sitting in a pew that will challenge you? Have you gone so far that you don't know what the hell you're here for, what the hell you're doing, where you're going? Yes, I know you have, Tanya. I know I have. I know many of my friends have. Suddenly we're stripped of all definition. It says that Mary entered a no-thingness. We're stripped of all definition, and we're going to be challenged to move in our ego, but we won't go that way. So the resurrection speaks to us constantly. And it didn't only happen once for Jesus, but now he's traveled. Mary traveled with him to the end point with the beloved and discovered there that the object of their affection has become the subject of their truth. Now, I think I can say this correctly. If I'm wrong, forgive me, but Bugeaud, she was in a very, very intimate relationship with a gentleman. And you can read it, Google it. I don't know all the determining factors of it, but that's the reason she's saying that. Because she knew he was going to pass on, and she knew that he was going to still speak to her, and they were going to move together in this realm as one, even though he was not here. When my husband passed away, what my husband said to me is, I'm going, but you live again. Live with someone again, marry again, have someone else in your life. I'll see you in another realm. So I don't look to Marvin in a different realm to tell me what I'm doing here, but Roberto and I have a pretty deep relationship when it comes to spirituality. So the reality is Cynthia Bugeaud actually tapped into that she was one with this person that still ascended, that wasn't here. Can you believe that? And if not, why not? Has that been taught as evil? Yes. Shamanic realities are evil. Tarot cards are evil. Channeling is evil. Reiki is evil. And that's why you're still sitting in a pew in a church. Okay, so Jesus is still speaking, living his life in oneness with Mary. So now, here's a few other things. The Gospel of Thomas says, when you are able to make two become one, the inside like the outside, and the outside like the inside, the higher like the lower, so that a man is no longer male or a woman female, but male and female become a single whole, then you will enter in. if you do not reach that point, you will never enter in. You will stay locked down in a linear reality. And I'm telling you, there's a timeline shift going on right now. And you don't want to be left behind. You'll be loved. You'll still live in life. But you want to go the route of the timeline shift as this planet is shifting into a new reality. So making the two one, I'm not talking about the political correctness of what's out there. I'm talking about the essence of your incarnation. And in the essence of my incarnation, I am recognizing that the two are one. So I recognize that when I get an idea in my mind, then I can lead out in any way, shape, or form, that I'm not held down or positioned down or limited in any way. So there is no male ordering principle counterbalancing a female ordering principle. That is what I believe Bourgeot says that in the book. You don't have to counterbalance things. You don't have to have two men and two women and make everything equal, because that's not equality. That's not what Thomas is talking about. You don't have to focus so much on women as to omit men. You don't have to focus so much on men to leave out women. There is a joining together as one that is needed to work side by side in intimacy. So it says that Jesus had indescribable union with Mary. This verse indicates, this indescribable union indicates a metamorphosis or a leading outside of egoic perception in the essence of unitive awareness. They underwent a metamorphosis together. It was intentional. It was intentional, folks. It was intentional that when she was healed, however you look at that healing of the chakras and aligning in harmony, that Jesus was preparing her to accept her point in time and to transform consciousness in the earth today through this spiritual teaching, along with many others. She entered a unitive awareness, and it was a wisdom teaching, and that's often referred to as Sophia. But you don't want to make a whole religion out of Sophia, then you're doing nothing other than what the church has done. I'm picking on the church today, and it deserves it. So this verse indicates a metamorphosis or a leading outside of this egoic perception. You know, in this timeline split that we're going through, there's coming a point where you can no longer try to explain things to people that are not where you are. They've got to find their own way. And if we keep trying to explain things to people, they're not going to understand it, and it's going to halt our progression. We need to keep going forward no matter what they call us, no matter what we're engaged in, no matter what we do. We have to keep going forward in the path that we're directed to bring into us the fulfillment of the creative expression out of egoic perception. So many that are still hesitant, you're still clinging to your families, and I know what that was like. To try to prove things, and I'm just thinking of these thoughts, or you're clinging to a religious institution because you have fear. There's so many people right now living in fear of what the outcomes might be if they take a certain step. I'm seeing it everywhere. I saw it in myself, that if we go this way, there is an outcome that will come that will shift our life. Well, yes, it will. Mary knew that outcome. She was looked at as being woo-woo, as being stupid, as being irrelevant. We've read some of those verses where they actually thought she had no relevance, that Jesus favored them over her. Just be you and keep moving forward. So Mary moved in ancient mystery traditions, which are supposed to be incorporated into our spirituality. And yet religion stays focused on just the canons and the dogmas and the traditions, and occasionally maybe incorporating some measure of intuition. But there is a wisdom tradition that is to be incorporated, in which Mary proved to be the intimate union or communion with Jesus as she manifested her reality in the earth. So wisdom is often called Sophia, but it is not a divinity to be worshipped, but a transformational force to be actualized. Sophia is not a divinity to be worshipped. It is the transformational force to be actualized. The feminine, alchemical feminine will move in the ongoing transformation of things through wisdom. Wisdom shines a light on your path. It helps you be aware that you're to go this way and not that way. It always will end in a creative manifestation of some part of your life that then will go on to manifest more in your life. But you have to keep moving forward in wisdom, contrary to anything else. Don't stop and make anything the end-all be-all of a belief system. Our belief systems are always evolving. They're always changing. And if you tap into ancient wisdom, tap into the truth of ancient wisdom, not what the hierarchy or the patriarchy tells you. There is truth in ancient wisdom in the Bible if you look at it through a mystical gnosis of understanding, not that you've separated and segregated as the only way. There's truth in Buddhism. There's truth in Hinduism. There's truth in shamanic practices. That's not being fragmented or spread out. It's seeking a divine path that you walk forward in being you. Maybe I will never explore mushrooms or shamanic ecstasy, but that's you. Go for it. But don't make it a religion. I may choose another path. It's okay, folks. It's really okay, because there is a determined path for you of wisdom that is set out just for you in order to manifest. If you're just constantly taking this in your mind and it never engages with your heart, because you see, when you engage with your heart, you're going to put it all out there, and then you're going to be subject to criticism, control, affirmation, confirmation, decimation. But what's the alternative to living life in a tomb and never experiencing the fullness of a resurrection into the metamorphosis of the gnosis of your divine humanity? What's the other way? There is no other way. So then also, just to end, wisdom is about transformation, and transformation is about creativity. Magdalene incorporates a particular kind of femininity in the divine Sophia that consecrates to a love that now spans the realms, exercising in her ministry divine, seamless creativity that is an unbroken intimacy with Jesus in the world of space-time. So Mary took these cues, these beautiful wisdom cues, this interaction. What does that show us? Are we supposed to be looking for Jesus in the imaginal realm? I don't know, maybe for you that will happen, and maybe for other people it will happen a different way. But I think what it shows us is there is an identity to be appropriated outside of this realm, and that will be so important in the days ahead. And again, so many people are asleep. Don't try to awaken them. You can try as the opportunity presents itself, but it will frustrate you. Just throw out tidbits and let them see your life. Let them see your love. Let them see your creativity. Never defend yourself or explain yourself unless it is an honest question. So why am I teaching this? Because it intrigues me. Because as a woman who was in ministry, being groomed to be an Assembly of God pastor of a church, I walked away from it. And man, did people think I was crazy. And yes, I was not totally healed at that point in my life. I was still angry by a lot of things. But every time I was angry, I went back and asked people forgiveness, because that's who I am. Why am I so passionate? Because religion destroys. If I didn't awaken, and my father used to say to me, Deborah, a little science brings you away from God, but a lot of science brings you right back to God. If I hadn't followed that path rather than a religious path, I remember sitting with my father when I brought him into the church I was going to at the time, and he got in the car and he said, "You believe this bullshit?" And yet I thought he had to get saved, and thought he had to get saved or he was going to hell. I was in all that garbage, folks. And that's why my passion is, I don't care. I'm getting to the point where there's nothing to prove, nothing to lose. And I mean that with my heart. It's like I have held myself back. And like, just let me get personal. You've heard this before, by having people tell me I'm too much, I'm too emotional, I'm this, I'm that. And so the fragmentation of me was always looking to be accepted in some way, some form, where that acceptance would provide a clear path into me. It never came. It never came, and that is why you get to be no thing, and you realize you don't regret your whole life, but you're looking for the essence of who you really are, and it will, without a doubt, present itself to you when you begin to search and to seek. And I am very fired up. That's good. I'm fired up. I'm a fiery individual. And I want to challenge you in love to be who you're called to be. And to listen to this that seemed to possibly go all over the place. I don't know. Just be you. I don't want you to present yourself to me and all your insecurities and your weaknesses. Go to a therapist for that. That's why they're there. There's some good psychological healing out there if you look for the right ones. Go to a Reiki healer. My job, my focus while I'm in this planet is to look into every one of you and to the best of my ability, deny everything about yourself that isn't true. No, that's not true. You're brilliant. No, that's not true. You're exceptional. Whoever told you you weren't smart. I've asked so many people lately, did your parents tell you you weren't smart? I've asked people questions about, well, why are you doing this? And it's like, this is my purpose, so that this right now, I am speaking to myself, and I'm speaking it with clarity and honesty that I simply don't effing care anymore. And some of us have to realize that F word, it's the new mantra, okay? It's the new mantra. F this, F this, F this. Don't say it out of love. Don't say it out of anger. Say it out of love, but say it, okay? There's nothing wrong with it. So I've rambled long enough, and that is me. So I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you being with me for the journey. And now I will call it a day. Love you guys.